In this slideshow, we're going to talk about the perfect, how to form the ancient Greek verb in the perfect tense. Of course, we're going to use our principal parts, and what we'll be focusing on are the fourth and fifth principal parts, the perfect active and the perfect middle. And these are going to give us our stems that we're going to work with to put on our endings. So we'll go over quickly once again reviewing how do we get our stems. And so here we're going to focus on just the perfect active. So we get our principal part, the perfect active principal part, and then we knock off the personal ending, in this case the alpha. So tetimeka, you knock off the alpha. Pepolutuka, knock off the alpha. Erifa, you knock off the alpha. Leloipa, you knock off the alpha. Now you'll notice that some perfects have a kappa and some don't. So the ones that have the kappa are first perfects, and the ones without kappa are second perfects. And we can think about it as the weak perfects are the kappa ones, and the strong perfects are the non-kappa ones. But it's actually easier to, because since they have the same exact endings, just say first is the kappa and second is the non-kappa. So the perfect is going to, active indicative is going to be formed with the perfect active stem plus the endings of the aorist effectively, except for in the third plural where it shows that it's a primary ending, asi. So this is the same ending that we see in the me verbs, tithe asi, say example. So everything else is very much like the aorist endings, a, as, e, amen, ate. And then you have your primary third person plural ending, asi, instead of san. Okay. So here we can conjugate some verbs. So here we have poieo, ripto, and didomi. And here we can see our principal part with the alpha, first person, and then we see the conjugated ending. A, e, amen, ate, asi. So pepoika, pepoikas, pepoikam, pepoike, pepoikamen, pepoikate, pepoikasi. Erifa, erifas, erife, erifamen, erifate, erifasi. Dedoka, dedokas, dedoke, dedokamen, dedokate, dedokasi. And as I said, you can see that the endings are effectively the same endings as the weak aorists, the ones that have the alpha, only that the third person plural is going to have a primary ending, so asi, as opposed to san, which would be the aorist ending, the secondary ending. Now, as far as the infinitives go, the infinitives are like the infinitives for me verbs, that is the ni infinitive, as opposed to the ain infinitive, omega verbs. So ni, and notice the accent is persistent on the penultima here, on the n. And so here something like poieo is going to have pepoikenai. Erifa would be erifenai. Dedoka would be dedokenai. Okay? All right. Now, in terms of the difference between the first and the second perfect active, again, the issue is, does it have a kappa or not? So here for buluo, bebuluka means that it's a first perfect. Lepo, it's leloipa, no kappa, so second perfect. So now let's focus a little bit on the distinction between the first and the second perfect. Very similar to the strong and the weak aorist when there are two in the same verb. The first perfect is going to be the transitive, so the weak aorist and the first perfect tend to be transitive, that is, that they take an object, the second perfect, the strong aorist second perfect, they're going to be intransitive, virtually passive in meaning. So, for instance, then, we have the first perfect of peitho, pepeka, that is transitive, so I have persuaded X to do something, or of something. However, the second perfect, pepoitha, is intransitive. I have been persuaded, and therefore I now trust X to do his words or whatever, right? So you have the second perfect is intransitive, virtually passive. I have been persuaded, I trust. Whereas the first perfect is transitive. I have persuaded. Here for verbs that mean destroy, right? The first perfect of apolumi, apololeka, and diphthero, diaphtharka, both of them are transitive, so I have destroyed X. Whereas the second perfect, apolola or diaphthora, I am destroyed, I am ruined. So I'm in a state of ruination. Okay? Now, regnumi has no first perfect, so that means that it doesn't have a transitive, I have broken something, X. It doesn't have that. Rather, it has only has the second perfect, so it's quasi-passive. So I am broken. I have been broken. I am now broken. Now, I've been stressing that the perfect active indicative is a primary tense, that is a present tense. So it's the consequence of an action in the past action in the present, right? I am dead. That would be the perfect. Now, there's of course a past tense version of this. I was dead, right? So what do you do with that? That is where you're going to bring in the pluperfect. So the pluperfect in Greek is the permanent state that results from a past action in the past. Okay? Again, very different from the pluperfect in Latin. And so let us look at how it's formed. So first of all, because it is a past tense, it is going to have an augment. So we see the augment on it here, and it is augments are done exactly the way we expect augments to be done. If the stem has a vowel, in the case of the perfect, that vowel has already been lengthened, most likely, and so you just keep it the way it is. If it's a consonant, you add your syllabic augment, and then there are some exceptions, as always. But in general, Mastronardi discusses this on page 331 for the details. But the main point is, if it's a consonant, syllabic augment, and chances are the vowel is already lengthened, and so you don't need to do anything if it's a vowel. But what about the ending? So you're going to take the augment, you're going to put that on the active stem, and then you're going to have the secondary endings. And these endings are a, ace, a, ace, a, and these are formed because there is this epsilon is going to be dominant in that ending, and you're going to just put the endings on. So that produces a, epsilon alpha ace, epsilon a, and then mn ete, essan. And you'll notice that, again, the san ending that we see in the aorist, this is your secondary ending in the pluperfect. Okay. So let's look at some examples here. So we have luo, right? Which the stem is leluka, and so we're going to have leluk is our stem there. We put our augment on, and then our personal ending, e, right? In the case of ago, it's echa, right? So this eta augment is already there, lengthened augment is already there, and so then all we have to do is put our personal endings on. E is e. Ake ko a. So we would lengthen the vowel, the augment, and we have our personal endings. Is, e, etc. So this is how you produce the pluperfect active, the past tense of the perfect in Greek. Okay, let's talk about the future perfect. So the future perfect then is going to be the permanent state that results from a action in the future. So I will have been destroyed. So there will be an action in the future, and then the result of that action, that is going to be the future perfect. Often we don't see this very common happening in Greek. It's usually going to be used in the context of threats or in the context of prophecies, when basically the point of the future perfect active is to indicate a sureness about the future, someone who knows that the future is going to be happening, and so usually it's a god or somebody who's threatening you. So how is it formed? The thing about the future perfect is that it is formed what we in a phrase called periphrastic. So it's formed periphrastically, meaning that it is formed by using the participle, so the active participle plus the future of the verb to be. So it's formed periphrastically. When you're using the verb to be plus a participle, that is called periphrastic, as in Latin. So it's a future periphrastic here. Now, there is only one instance of the simple future perfect, which is for the verb to die, of course, and it only occurs twice, so it's not really something to memorize or get all bent out of shape with. But basically how that one is, you're using the perfect stem plus your future future endings. So sigma plus the o, ace, a endings. And so sigma plus kappa gives you xi, so teth, ne, xo, etc. Now, as I said, this only occurs twice. So this is not something we're going to focus energy on. What we're going to do is focus on how to do the future with the periphrastic construction. So the future active part is the perfect active participle plus the future of the verb to be. In terms of the infinitive, same way. The infinitive is made with the future of the verb to be plus the participle, and but sometimes, again, rarely, you will get the this simple future, which is teth, ne, xein. Very rare. The participle, again, in the middle passive is lusomenos. We looked at that already. Lelulesthein. All right. So that will be our future active, or perfect actives, and pluperfect active, and future perfect active.